All right, Ambush, and today we are joined by a rising Toronto singer, songwriter. He made his first step into the music industry with an EP entitled The Fight, and that led him to a second project entitled Vice Love in 2019. And like we said, it's been rising, it's been heating up, and sometimes they say the third time's the charm, and ooh, from what I've heard so far, I must say it must be true, because we are here today to talk about a third project, a third EP entitled Testarossa, with my guest today, Sam Drysdale. How's it going today, Sam?
Happening, man. I'm very impressed. I very few people that ever asked me for interviews are able to go all the way back and find out anything about the fight. So I'm impressed that you did some real digging there.
Hey, last night I had debut EP written beside Vice Love, and then I was like, oh no, we were about to make a mistake. Can't do that.
Oh man, I'm impressed. Just let me ask you, would you prefer, should I be better this way, or do you like, or is vertical okay? What do you, I can set the camera up either way, so whatever you prefer.
All right, sideways is probably more preferable for us here.
Hey, got you. Give me 1 second. Boom.
Either way, we got you. We're here. We're talking some new music, and it is a beautiful day. So, of course, I want to start out with, when exactly did this new EP begin to take form? Because, like I mentioned, Vice Love came to us in the middle of 2019. But our first taste of this new EP came in August of 2021, so almost about 2 years in between those two things. So when did Testarossa begin to take form?
Yeah, dude. Funny enough, the first song that we wrote for Testarossa was the at this point, pending when this comes out, our most recent single, "Nothing on You," which just came out at the end of December of 2021. That was actually the first song we wrote for the record. And it's also the last song I played live before the pandemic. I closed out a show with it sort of as an experimental song at the top of 2020. So end of January 2020, right before the pandemic hit, I played Nothing on You live. And we had written that song like 2 or 3 months before that. So I started writing Testarossa at the end of 2019, like September of 2019. So yeah, it basically took 2 years to sort of come to be fully realized.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, you mentioned that you had brought it out into the world, began working, but of course, as you mentioned, we had the pandemic, and of course, with that, studio time became difficult as well, and everything else. So exactly how did the recording process for this new EP take place once you actually got around to that part?
Man, so we were lucky that we could still get into the studio in person, like just, it's pretty sparsely. Typically, the reason that I started the sort of the main producer on the project, it's between two guys, Mr. Joey Verscazzi and Mr. Andrew Martino. And Andrew Martino and I, aka Marty, formerly the drummer of Down With Webster and a band called Honors, and he's just a really wicked dude. Him and I really started crafting the EP together, just the two of us. And we were writing songs, just him and I in the studio at the very beginning when it was like super limited. And every now and then we'd get lucky enough to have Miss Alexandra Soumalias, who goes by Ali Sue, in with us as well. So just the three of us could sort of bunker down on certain days and try to make stuff happen from a writing perspective. But to actually like get in and start working through the full recording process, we did have to wait till things like started opening up. And yeah, it was super frustrating, man. I mean, even now in, January of 2022, it's the music world is tough. It's tough to make things happen kind of the way you envision them all the time. But, overall we made it work.
We've all had to adapt, and it definitely sounds like you were able to do that, but also maybe having that benefit of a smaller songwriting crew, maybe a smaller production crew, maybe allowed you to get a little bit more done.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's a big thing for me, man. I like to keep teams small. When I was younger as a musician and as a person, it was all just about grabbing as many people as I could, working with as many people as I can. But now that I'm older and, working on putting out the third project, like I just know who's going to vibe and who's not going to vibe, and you got to give people a good chance for sure. But I also know that I like, who I like to write with. I know how I like to write. I know what the processes that I like to go through are, and just sort of the order of operations. So tight circles,
Hmm.
they can work.
Oh, absolutely. And it's always good to have that refined set of ears to help a project along. Maybe hear something that you don't hear. But sometimes when you have too many ears, then you get too many opinions. Some of them clash. And
Yeah, man, it's almost like you've been an artist yourself and a songwriter, because you're exactly spot on. Too many ears is can be super dangerous, and it can be really it can just interrupt the way that things need to naturally flow in order to put out art that makes sense. And I'm lucky that I found a couple of people that I really trust. And as an artist, like, you're only as good as the people that you can trust and the people that really have your back. And I mean, I think that this project could do it for us. I think we could really start to see some solid turnaround on the music that we've been, spending a lot of time developing. And I'm really, really grateful for the people that have stuck by me, for sure.
awesome. Well, the teamwork makes the dream work. And of course, you mentioned one, Andrew Martino there, his time with Down with Webster. He's had quite a bit of time inside of the music industry, not just as an artist, but as a producer and a songwriter. So,
Absolutely, yeah.
what exactly was Andrew able to bring to the process? What was maybe something that you learned from him during this time?
Man, what I mean, it's funny you call him Andrew. Everyone calls him Marty. What Marty brings to a room that's like more valuable than anything he'd ever bring musically is there's no producer I've ever worked with that'll just make you feel more inherently comfortable. He's a really, really, really seriously, genuinely nice person. And as an artist, if you're going to come in and you're trying to make music that, even if it's a fluffy song, like even if it's a fluffy pop record that you're going after, the best way to go after it is just to be as vulnerable as possible when you're trying to make music, when you're trying to write a record, and having collaborators that are really, really receptive to vulnerability and are very open and honest and make you feel safe. You know, it's sometimes it's very tough to distinguish between whether or not you're in a songwriting session or a therapy session. Like it looks the same. And Andrew does a really good job at making things feel comfortable. And obviously, he's a tremendous musical talent, and he's passionate about music. He always, he reminds me of like Timbaland. Like when you see clips of Timbaland, and he's just like so excited about a bass line that he's just come up with, or you see him and he's just like knocking on some drums that he's working up for in like videos of him and Kanye. It's like Marty's the same way, and that's infectious and that's invaluable.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned too, that vulnerability, allowing things to flow, and how music, or how it's therapeutic, because music is therapy, not just for the writer, but also for the listener. And having that vulnerability definitely gives them something more to connect with, maybe helps the listener to heal as well, right?
No, and that's where it's coming from, man. Like when you're a listener and you listen to a record, you listen to a song, like, one guy I've been listening to a lot lately is Alec Benjamin. You listen to some lyrics by him, and it's like you can tell that guy had to like sit down with himself and probably put himself through some shit in order to write those lyrics. You know what I mean? And that's what really translates as a listener. Like I think now, especially in the day and age we're in, where there's so much music, good lyrics and good storytelling and like really good sort of emotional vulnerability in songwriting is more important than ever. And that really comes out as an artist in the writing session. As the listener, when you bury yourself in your big over ear headphones and maybe you're listening to a song late at night, but as the artist, you really get that moment of like, just like letting it all out when you're actually writing it. And that's why it's so important to collaborate with people that make you feel comfortable.
Absolutely. Very, very important. And I want to dive into some of these songs that came out of this process here. And of course, I want to kick it off with our first taste of this new EP, which came to us in, like I mentioned, August of 2021 with Dream About a Girl. So, what exactly was the energy? What is this dream that you were trying to capture?
Man, what that song is really about is, I mean, it's I've said this in a couple of interviews, but it's a funny thing because I actually wrote the start of that song genuinely like in I kind of woke up and had it in my head, and it happens every now and then where if you've been making a lot of music, like I think that this only really happens if you're in a cycle where you're writing all the time and you're listening to a ton of music and you're very actively just list music all the time. Sometimes you'll go to sleep and you'll like little melodies will just pop up in your brain while you're sleeping. Like in the same way where if you are playing too much of a video game, you'll start dreaming about a video game. And the same thing happened with Dream About a Girl. And I actually started writing a couple of the melodies and a couple of the lyrics literally in my sleep one day. I woke up. I remember I woke up and I went out to my iPhone and I just recorded this little idea. But essentially, that song is about dreaming of a position of being in a position that's a lot sweeter than the one you're currently in a relationship with someone else. And it's about realizing when you're in this dream that something isn't totally right and that there's something out there that might be better for you and could be, and it doesn't even necessarily mean that it's with another person. It just means that there's a version of that relationship that could be healthier and could be better. And to this day, I don't really know, the dream about, I don't really know who that girl is that I had that dream about that sort of got me thinking like, am I in the right place in this relationship? And, it was a funny song. And it was written directly in the middle of the heat of sort of writing all the songs for this project. So it really came out it came out of me right in the middle of all the songwriting process.
Wow. Okay. So, like you mentioned, you were right in the heat of that moment, getting it all done. And then suddenly the idea came to you. And I love how you mentioned that, where there could be something better. Maybe it doesn't have to be with somebody else, but there's room to grow. And I mean, maybe you don't know who the girl is yet, but when that time comes, you know that you're going to be a better man.
That's all you can hope for, man. And it's just, it was just about cherishing that idea that when that thing makes itself present, that person or that version of the same relationship, whatever it was, just making sure that you take care of it. Relationships are all about whether or not you got to have people's backs, got to take care of people.
Hey, and love and friendship and family, all of them. You got to make sure that your people are okay. Tell them that you love them. All of those wonderful things.
All right, yeah.
Hey, all right. And of course, you also mentioned that our latest taste of this upcoming EP came to us at the end of December with Nothing on You, which it's a powerful track. And of course, once again, I would love to know what exactly went into this song here.
Sure, man. I mean, yeah, it is. It's kind of the biggest sounding song on the record. It was, as I said, the first song that we wrote after Vice Love. And I kind of wanted to write a sister track to the first song on Vice Love, which was Like a Man. And I've always loved big cinematic production. Like the first time I ever heard The Hills by The Weeknd, I was just like, whoa, like this is just like, massive. I love massive. Like I love Hans Zimmer productions in films, like Hans Zimmer scores. I love big, like even big productions, like things that Mark Ronson does when it's more just big production, big everything, like lots of sound, and that's what I wanted to bring to a song. And yeah, man, just something sexy always about playing a song in 6/8 with that. That kind of like 50 Shades of Grey vibe. And I wanted to write something like that, sort of like, as I said, a sister song to Like a Man. And that was legitimately the first song we wrote in the writing process. And it's made the cut. It's made it all the way here. So,
hey, and I'm glad that it did make the cut. And like you mentioned, it's got really big production, but it also has like a simple feel to it in a way too, which I also love how you sort of brought to life that cinematic idea, also with sort of that simple but also very big feel inside of the music video for this song as well.
Yeah, definitely, man. The music video for this song honestly might be my favorite one we've shot so far. for this project, every single thing that is coming out from a visual perspective, like whether it be single artwork, music videos, branding across the board, everything is being handled by just me and one other person. Like, I decided with this whole record, I wanted to really funnel and hone in on everything that sort of encompasses an artist, specifically visually. I don't think I ever realized how much visuals meant to me before this project. I kind of just said, like, I'll make the music, you make the music videos, you make the single artwork, I'll hire that out. And with Vice Love, I realized I was super uncomfortable with that. I really didn't know that I had it in me. And so now with this new project, everything we're doing, every music video I produce myself, and it's all between me and my creative director, Helder Matthias. And this with Nothing on You, that video wasn't even supposed to be an official video. It wasn't supposed to be this big thing. It was just going to be a little visualizer, because we didn't anticipate Nothing on You being sort of like a standalone single. We just wanted to give it something very simple. And then we got in there and we just decided that we were going to, embellish on the idea a little bit and make something more full. And I'm really glad we did, because I think it's a beautiful video. Like, we shot it on some, I think it was some 35 mil film. And I'm really, really excited about it. The dancer is beautiful. She absolutely crushed it. And it just kind of captures the whole vibe of the song really well.
It's the dancer, like you mentioned, killed it, and then the lighting too just really brings it to life. And then you get halfway through the song where it starts to pick up, and oh my goodness.
No, man, it was all the whole idea originally for that song. I had this sort of larger budget, more grandiose vision for that video. And I'm glad that we ended up keeping it so simple, but I just really wanted to bounce between the contrast of, like, it's a really big, powerful song, and then I wanted there to be this really soft, sort of more beautiful element to it, like a ballet dancer, like someone just kind of floating around and moving very sort of sensually and just softly. And I love the contrast between high energy and then that sort of like silky, smooth, soft nature. And so those things pair really well together. They're kind of opposites, but just the dynamic between those two visuals, I think, makes for a really beautiful music video.
Oh, I must agree. And this entire EP is incredible. I've loved everything that I've heard of it. And as of the recording of this interview, it's still a week away from its official release. But of course, you've been working to this point for almost 2 years now. So what is it? What's the feeling like right now to know that you're on the precipice, to know that you're almost there to having Testarossa out onto that racetrack?
It's good, man. It's really good. And I have a little special surprise for you that I'll send you after this, but we're adding a little bit of a last minute change to one of the songs on the record. And it's going to come out in 2 different versions, but no one's heard this sort of second version of the song, and I'm going to send it to you after this so you can hear it. But we're making adjustments all the way till the last sort of second here. We're shooting a music video now in just a couple days, only a few days before the release of the whole project. And this music video, I have no doubt, will be the best one that we've done yet. It's got the biggest team, the biggest sort of budget, the biggest everything. Like, it's just got the biggest, sort of pre-production planning, and really, really excited to get that out as well. But yeah, man, I just wanted to create something from the start, a year and a half, 2 years ago, that 2 years down the line, I knew I would have flushed out every single possible creative sort of idea I had, visually, sonically, everything. I just wanted to know that I've tried every little thing I wanted to try, and that this was sort of like the 6 final diluted songs that I could come up with. And it's really, really fucking exciting. I hope I can swear.
Yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can. And I love that. The heat is on. We're getting close to the release, but the work is not done, and it won't be done. The future holds beautiful things by the sounds of things here.
That's all we can hope for, man. Lots of stuff planned. It's January 21st today, and we got live shows, more music videos, more visuals, and maybe even some more music in 2022. I really think that as far as Sam Drysdale is concerned, this is probably going to be the biggest year yet. And I mean, I should say that with a little bit more certainty, because it is going to be. It's going to. We're going to burn it down this year. That's a promise.
Hey, and I cannot wait. And if the listeners, the fans, want to stay up to date with this year, with the burning down process, how can they go ahead and do that? What's the best way?
I would say if you really want to come, if you want to just follow along and be sort of along for the ride at the sort of real base level, like Instagram's the best way to do it. I'm a bit of an old dog. Like, I still love putting together a little bit of a curated Instagram page that really shows, something hopefully resembling an artist and an idea and a brand. And follow me on Instagram at Sam Drysdale Music. Come find me on my YouTube channel as well. I'm really proud of the music videos we've been making. And it would be a privilege to have you sort of follow along with us on the YouTube channel as well. So Instagram and YouTube are my two favorite mediums right now. We'll be doing some stuff on TikTok as well, getting some live music out there, because I think people could really use it. But either of those platforms are fantastic. And then obviously for music, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, they've been showing me a lot of love so far for the record. And come and follow us over there as well.
Hey, and you can find links in the description to this show today to do exactly that. Sam, I have one last question for you here today. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, absolutely. Hit me.
All right, so we have talked about this process of crafting this a new EP Testarossa over the last couple of years. We've talked about a couple of the singles and otherwise, but now what I would like to know is, through this time, through this process, how has it helped you to grow as a person, or what has it taught you about yourself?
That's a deep question, my man. That's a very deep question. Here's what I would say. With this project, my biggest, you always hear artists talk about, if you ever watch interviews with, big, serious A-tier artists, you'll always hear, if the interviewer asks them, what are some things you wish you knew when you were younger? Almost all of them say, I wish that I trusted myself more. Every single time you hear them say, I wish I went with my gut. I wish I trusted myself. I wish I trusted my vision. And with this project, that's like, I put that at the forefront of my mind. And I really gave myself permission to just trust my intuition about, what makes a good record, what makes a good art, a good art as a whole, visually, sonically, and then what really makes for a compelling artist. And I think that's what I learned about myself, is that it's totally, that's what being an artist is. It's giving yourself permission to just say, like, fuck everyone else. This is what I'm doing. If you vibe with it, that's fantastic. If it's not, it's all good. Like, I'll catch you down the road. But you need to say that. You need to get to a point in your personal life as a human where you're comfortable enough to say that to yourself and to just say, like, this is what we're doing. It's that simple. It doesn't have to be anything else. I don't got to play by your rules. I don't got to play by your rules. You got to play by your own rules, and giving yourself permission to do that, and having the confidence to do that is super important. And I don't think with the past projects you mentioned, I had done that fully. And with this one I have, and I got no regrets.
Hey, awesome. I love to hear it. And like we mentioned earlier, sometimes letting a few too many voices, a few too many opinions in can clutter things up. You got to be true to you.
Absolutely, man. I mean, that's what being an artist is, dude. Like, no one can sit down with a pencil or a crayon or a marker and draw the same picture you're going to draw. Like, it's just it can't happen. And, that's what being an artist is all about. And that's what gives people meaning and gives people fulfillment. Like, everything else is just noise.
Absolutely. I love this lesson. I have loved this conversation, and I love this new EP, Testarossa, which the listeners can go and find right now on their favorite music streaming service. Thank you so much, Sam, for joining us here today on the DTP.
Thank you very much for having me, man. Really appreciate it. And great questions as well. I've done a lot of interviews. These were, I think this is probably my favorite question set. So you're good at your job. I appreciate it.